morning. Hey, Brian. How's everyone doing? Thank you, Brian. Thank you very much. How's everyone doing this morning? Oh, you know what? Oh, well. Hey, Becca. Hey, Mary. Hey, everybody. Amber, everybody. Oh. Let's do some book club. Maybe I'm the one who... Oh, no. What happened, Becca? What happened? Say it ain't so. Say it ain't so. You guys, we have After Dark tonight. Yeah. Which is always, you know, fun and exciting for the whole family. Rush Lanes are back on Broadway Outsiders. Rush Lanes, 120 people. Wow. Wow. Hey, Addie. Long time no see in book club. What is shaking? It was good, Jess. Thank you. Today, yes, Secret Husband also has today off. I have to remind me to tell you about my dream. Okay, I can't wait to hear about it. I, however, do not have the day off because, as we have previously discussed, my boss is the hardest. Hey, Mina. My boss is. She is. She just is what she is, you guys. There's no changing her. I did contact HR and they said there's nothing they can do because this was the life that I signed up for. Yeah, they literally said that. Can you believe that? They said, you chose this life, therefore our hands are tied. I know. HR actually said that. They didn't, however, put it in writing. They just said it. I think they know that if they put it in writing that, like, I could probably take action. But since they just said it out loud, someone's going to come in here one day and think that I really opened a claim against my boss with HR. And they're going to be, like, all keyboard warrior about it and not realize what kind of joking we were doing. But it's okay. It's okay. Hey, Amanda, what's shaking? Amanda, we were talking about you over the weekend because we were talking about book club babies, and I was like, we have multiple book club babies. Yeah, it's just entrepreneur things. It's true. Came late to the joke and then realized, oh, I see. Yep. I don't think anyone would believe that I was the HR department. Sure they would. Becca's HR, you guys. Psh, whatever. I happen to love your boss. Yeah, well, everyone's different. Huh. I happen to love your boss. Maud gives HR energy. It's true, it does. And we actually have a couple of people in our group that actually, hey Jen, are genuine HR people. So, oh shoot. There's not water in here. Crap. Oh no. Keep going, don't do it. I messed that up real bad. Okay, we're gonna try that again. But we're not gonna be able to put the whole thing through there because, you know, so I messed up. Shoot, which notes did I already put in here? I can't remember. This is what happens when you mess up. Everything is a mess. Good morning, Avery. I wasn't paying attention, so I can't help you. Put everything again. That's what I kind of did. Oh well. At least someone is impersonating HR because I never said any of that to her. That's funny. That's funny. That is funny. Oh, I guess it would have been fine. I messed up. Okay, well, you know, it is what it is. Sometimes you make mistakes, right? Identity theft is not a joke. It's true. Identity theft is serious, Becca. It really is. Really serious. Yeah. You gotta report that to someone. As a matter of fact, I told her the opposite. She's a defiant employee. It's true. It's true. It's true. She is a defiant employee. This would be less funny, I think, if Becca's credit cards didn't come to me in the mail. You know, identity theft is real, apparently. Although I, thankfully, have never thieved her identity. I just, you know, gave her the card back without using it, thankfully. But, you know. Oh my. Did you see that I'm drying some of the flowers from my bouquet? That's what's going on there, in case anyone was wondering why I've got like little flowers. Oh, hey guys, my friend Karen is joining book club. Everybody say hi to Karen. She has decided to join us for book club. 198. You're like, what is happening here? Do you make some? Karen and I have known each other for so long at this point, I can't even remember how long. Karen is definitely one of us, personality-wise. So, a welcomed addition to book club. They ended up stealing a lot of money from my great-grandmother. That's awful, Becca. Did it get fixed? If you want to know something funny about Karen, one time when Karen and I were living with a third roommate, our roommate went out of the country for 2 weeks, and when she came back, we had a new couch and a new cat. Hey Shelley, how's merry old England? And our roommate might have wanted a new couch, but I don't think she wanted a new cat. But he's still kicking, so, you know. Oh, that's terrible, Becca. Mary trying to find a place to sit outside. Oh, nice. How's the weather? Oh, no, surprise cat, yes. Karen and I went to the store to buy our current cat at the time, Fred, a new litter box. And we came home with a new litter box and a new brother for him. It's true. Pew, pew, pew. We have kittens under our porch, so that's fun. That is fun. Karen also has cats on her porch. Karen lives in an area of Connecticut where there are many, many stray cats that she takes care of. It's true. She sends pictures. Okay, so let's get into it, right? Because for everyone who doesn't know, we have Roll for Slime tonight, so I have a lot to do to prepare for that. I will be posting the agenda, I don't know, like an hour after book club like I usually do. But today we are on chapter 5. Chapter 5. In case anybody missed yesterday,
crazy, absolutely crazy. A school of witchcraft came to, I don't know, meet the school of magic, if you will, and Pip went with them, and we're gonna miss her. So I don't know what we're gonna say about that, but here we go. Chapter 5, Warmth from a Cold Heart. After Pip's departure from the academy, Bristol spent the rest of the day inside her office. She locked the double doors and applied a spell to keep everyone out, but even with complete isolation, Bristol never really felt alone. Her disturbing thoughts had become so persistent that they developed a presence of their own, like a shadow she couldn't escape from. You should have done more for Pip, but you were too busy to help her. You were too selfish to care, and you let her down. She made the biggest mistake of her life. The witches took her away, and she's never coming back. The thoughts thrived in silence, as if a quiet room was their natural habitat. Although they didn't make a physical sound, Bristol could have sworn they echoed all around her. You can't handle all of this. Mankind's approval, Prince Maximus, and the 333 witches. You're going to drown. Bristol had never felt more helpless in her life. She desperately needed advice on how to manage everything on her plate. But who in the world could help her? Who could answer all the questions tormenting her? Who could supply comfort and reassurance in a time like this? Her weary eyes drifted toward the globe beside her desk. Thankfully, the northern lights were dancing above the northern mountains, like always. Bristol was relieved to see that the lights hadn't changed, but this time they also gave her an idea. Perhaps there was someone she could talk to, or at least half of someone. The idea quickly became a possibility, and the possibility quickly turned into a plan. Later that night, when the rest of the fairy territory was asleep, Bristol carefully wrapped the glowing red arrow in a handkerchief and dressed in warm, sparkling coat. She quietly opened the doors of her office and floated outside in a large bubble. Bristol flew as high as she could so no one on the ground would notice her. She steered her bubble over the academy grounds, across the troll and goblin territories, and into the clouds above the northern kingdom. The night air became colder and colder as she flew farther north, and soon the snowy northern mountains appeared below her. Still, Bristol continued her northern excursion and drifted deeper into the mountains, far beyond the reaches of civilization. In the distance, hovering above the sharp peaks of the mountain range, were the shimmering northern lights. Bristol landed on a snowy mountainside directly below the lights and popped the bubble with her wand. The howling wind was freezing, and Bristol pulled up the collar of her coat to shield her face. She had no clue what she should be looking for, but Bristol searched the frosted mountain for anything that might lead her in the right direction. All Bristol could see was the snow whirling around her, but as her eyes adjusted, she eventually noticed the narrow opening of a small cave. She squeezed through the opening and was grateful to get out of the bitter wind. She waved her wand and illuminated the dark cave with hundreds of twinkling lights. The lights filled the darkness like a swarm of fireflies, and Bristol discovered it wasn't a cave after all, but a long tunnel. She cautiously followed the tunnel as it snaked deeper and deeper into the mountainside. As she went, Bristol noticed the walls of the tunnel were covered in scratches, as if a frightening creature had been dragged through it. Strangely, the unnerving sight gave Bristol hope. A frightening creature was exactly what she wanted to see. Bristol proceeded down the tunnel for miles. Just when she started to worry the passageway was endless, the tunnel opened into an icy cavern. The twinkling lights wrapped around the largest icicle on the ceiling and illuminated the area like a chandelier. Bristol searched every corner and crevice of the frigid cavern, but found nothing out of the ordinary. What a waste of time, she mumbled to herself. I was stupid for even coming here. Finding her is like finding a needle in a haystack. Bristol knew the person of interest was somewhere in the northern mountains, otherwise the northern lights wouldn't be in the sky, but they were probably thousands of caverns, and she'd have to search before she would find that person. Cold and defeated, Bristol sat on a boulder and rested her tired legs before heading home. As she moped, Bristol spotted something strange out of the corner of her eye. A tall silhouette was watching her from the back of the cavern. Alarmed, Bristol leapt to her feet and pointed her wand at the strange figure. I see you, she announced. Don't you come any closer. The figure obeyed Bristol's orders and didn't move an inch. Who are you? She asked. They didn't respond. In fact, it was eerie how silent and still they were. Bristol slowly approached the back of the cavern and realized why she hadn't seen them before. The figure was frozen in a wall of ice. She wiped away a layer of condensation and immediately jumped back when she recognized the person trapped inside. It was a monstrous woman with an enormous snowflake crown and a white fur coat. Her skin was blackened and cracked from frostbite. Her teeth were jagged as broken glass, and a cloth was wrapped around her eyes. Without a doubt, Bristol had found the infamous Snow Queen. I knew you'd come eventually. The voice came out of nowhere and startled Bristol, but this time it wasn't just in her head. She spun around and pointed her wand at the direction of the voice. A beautiful woman with dark hair and bright eyes appeared in the cavern behind her. The woman wore a plum gown, an elaborate fascinator, and beamed with a warm smile. Madam Weatherbury? Bristol gasped. The fairy looked younger and more vibrant than ever before. Bristol didn't know how it was possible for Madam Weatherbury and the Snow Queen to exist in two different places, but she didn't care. Without wasting another second, Bristol ran across the cavern to embrace her former mentor, but she passed through Madam Weatherbury like she was made of air. Are you a ghost? Bristol asked. Something like that, Madam Weatherbury said. After we said our goodbyes in the Tinsel Palace, I tried my best to keep the promises I made to you. I traveled as far away from civilization as my feet would carry me, but living in seclusion made the Snow Queen stronger. It was only a matter of time before she conquered me completely, so I searched the mountains for a place to imprison her and discovered this cavern. I froze myself in a wall of ice to trap her. And just in case it melted, I blinded myself so that she would never find a way out. With my last bit of strength, I performed a detachment spell to separate us. As long as the Snow Queen lives, I'll exist like a phantom outside of her. Well, can you come back to the academy like this? Bristol asked. Madam Weatherbury's smile faded and she shook her head. We no longer share a body, but I'm still linked to her and I cannot stray beyond the walls of this cave, she explained. Not that I deserve to, anyway. I'm responsible for creating her, and therefore responsible for all the destruction that she caused. I belong in this cave just as much as the Snow Queen does. Then why perform the detachment spell at all? Bristol asked. Well, for a couple of reasons, Madam Weatherbury said. First, if anyone came here with the intention of freeing the Snow Queen, I wanted to talk them out of it. Second, I thought it might be useful to you one day. I left you with an impossibly heavy burden, Bristol. While I have nothing but absolute faith in you, I figured that you might need a little guidance at some point. Now that you're here, is it safe to assume my hunch was correct? Bristol nodded and her eyes filled with tears. Yes, she cried, and you have no idea how much I need you. Being in Madam Weatherbury's presence made Bristol feel safe. She put her guard down for the first time in months, and all her suppressed emotions surged forward. Bristol fell onto her knees and sobbed in the middle of the cavern. Oh, you poor thing, Madam Weatherbury said. This is all my fault. I shouldn't have placed so much responsibility on your shoulders. No, it's not that, Bristol sniffed. We did it, Madam Weatherbury. We did everything we always dreamed about. Magic has been legalized in all 4 kingdoms. Mankind doesn't just approve of magic, they're fascinated by it. The Academy is now home to thousands of fairies who are learning to develop their abilities. Not only have we made the world a safer place for the magical community, we've also done amazing things for women and talking creatures too. If Madame Weatherbury had a physical form, she surely would have needed to sit down. The fairy placed a hand over her heart, and her eyes went wide with exhilaration. She let out such a deep breath that it was like she was sighing with relief for the entire magical community. "Oh, Bristol," she said, "I've waited a long time to hear those words. You've brought so much warmth to such a cold place." Bristol nodded and forced herself to smile. "I know. It's amazing," she said. "I didn't think we could change the world so much." "Then why do you seem so sad?" Madame Weatherbury asked. "I don't know," Bristol said with a shrug. "There's so much to be happy about, and lately my mind only focuses on the bad stuff. There's a voice in my head that constantly reminds me of my failures and gives me reasons to fear the future. Every effort feels pointless, every accomplishment feels temporary, every bump in the road feels like the end of the world. No matter what I do, I can't get it to stop. I'm worried I'm going to be miserable forever." Madame Weatherbury knelt beside Bristol and stroked her hair. Even though Bristol couldn't feel her apparitional hands, she could feel the fairy's empathy. "The only thing in life..." Sorry, my phone refuses to stream your live properly. Oh, it works on computers too. "The only thing in life that lasts forever is the fact that nothing lasts forever," Madame Weatherbury said. "Just like the weather, people have seasons too. We all go through periods of rain and sunshine, but we can't let a particularly rough winter destroy our faith in spring. Otherwise, we'll all be stuck in the snow." "This doesn't feel like winter. It feels like an ice age," Bristol said. "What if this isn't a season? What if it's more than just a phase?" "Well, either way, it's up to you to change it," Madame Weatherbury said. "Okay, but how?" "Oh, misery is like an animal. It needs food to survive. So starve it. Surround yourself with art and beauty that brightens your darkest days. Listen to music and poetry that fills the cracks of your broken heart. Read quotes and passages that can soothe and motivate you when you feel the most discouraged. Spend time with people who make you laugh and distract you from your troubles. Nourish your soul, and hopefully your mind will follow. However, if you find that you can't help yourself, there's no shame in asking others for help. Sometimes asking for help is just as heroic as giving it. There are treatments and therapies and counselors that you can benefit from, but no one finds answers if they're too afraid to ask the questions. Don't let pride tell you otherwise." Bristol groaned. "Yeah, it sounds easier said than done." "Changing hearts and minds is never easy, especially our own," Madame Weatherbury said. "Sometimes changing how we think and feel are the most difficult transformations a person can make. It takes time and effort like nothing else. You have to discipline your thoughts before they dictate your mood. You have to control your reactions before your reactions control you. And most important, you have to ask for help when you need it, despite how vulnerable it makes you feel. Take it from me, if I had learned to handle my emotions, and if I wasn't too embarrassed to ask for help, well, the Snow Queen wouldn't exist." Bristol shuddered at the idea of another Snow Queen growing inside of her. "That's why I'm here," she said. "I need help, and you're the only person I can talk to." "Well, no wonder you're so distraught," Madame Weatherbury said. "Every hurricane seems endless from the center of the storm. That's why it's so important to talk to people. Getting a different perspective can be just as valuable as finding a solution. Now, tell me about the things that are troubling you. I may not solve your problems, but I might be able to change how you think about them." The cavern was so cold that Bristol's tears were frozen to her cheeks. She wiped the ice off her face and got back to her feet. "All right," she said. "The progress we made is incredible, but I'm afraid we're going to lose mankind's approval. They changed their opinion about magic so quickly, I'm afraid that they'll change their mind again. And magic might be illegal now, but what if a king or queen amends the laws in the future? What will happen to us then?" "That is all possible," Madame Weatherbury said. But you've already accomplished the impossible, Bristol, so have faith that you'll handle the possible as it happens. If mankind changes their minds, then you can and will find a way to win them back. And if people love magic as much as you say they do, then a sovereign would be foolish to deny their people something that they love. That's how revolutions start. If the time comes, it wouldn't hurt to remind them of that. Bristol went quiet as she thought about Madame Weatherbury's advice. Like the fairy said, talking about the issues didn't solve it, but hearing someone else's assessment did make her feel just slightly better. Okay, that's helpful. Thank you. It feels wonderful to be helpful, Madame Weatherbury said. What else is on your mind? Well, there's also a witch who opened a school of witchcraft, Bristol said. Her name is Mistress Mara, and she came to the fairy territory to recruit students. She convinced my friend Pip to join her, and now I'm worried that other fairies might leave the academy and become witches too. Oh, I know that this is difficult to hear, but this is a good thing, Madame Weatherbury said. For the first time in hundreds of years, members of the magical community will have choices over their own destiny. Thanks to you, witches and fairies get to be whoever they wish, whenever they wish, even if it's against your wishes. I think the witches are up to something, though, Bristol said. Mistress Mara gave a big speech about wanting to help fairies embrace their inner darkness, but I don't trust her. Since when do witches care about anyone but themselves? What if she tricked Pip into something dangerous? If so, your friend will learn a valuable lesson, and the other fairies will have more reason to trust you in the future, Madame Weatherbury said with a shrug. That's the most difficult part about being in your shoes. You have so much authority, but are completely powerless over other people's choices. So don't blame yourself for your friend's mistakes. That is the biggest mistake that you can make. Bristol sighed. I suppose you're right, she said. Thanks. Oh, this is quite fun for me, Madame Weatherbury said. What's next? I'm afraid I've saved the worst for last, Bristol said. She removed the handkerchief from the inside of her coat and unwrapped the red arrow. The glowing arrowhead filled the cavern with crimson light, and just like Mrs. V, Madame Weatherbury had a visceral reaction to the arrow. Her cheery disposition faded, her eyes grew large, and she slowly backed away from the weapon. Bristol didn't have to ask her clearly. Madame Weatherbury knew exactly what that arrow was. Where did you get that? She asked. I was attacked by the 333, Bristol said. Madame Weatherbury started to stare off into space and fearfully shook her head. Oh, so they're finally back after all this time, she whispered to herself. What do you know about them? Bristol asked. No. I shouldn't say anything, Madame Weatherbury said. You came to me for encouragement, and it would only burden you with more. Madame Weatherbury, you have to tell me, Bristol insisted. They've already tried to kill me once, and I suspect they're going to try to do it again. Whoever they are, wherever they came from, I need to know everything so that I can stop them. Madame Weatherbury closed her eyes and winced at the request. She quietly paced around the cavern as she found the words to explain. Well, they call themselves the Righteous Brotherhood, she said. They're a 1,000-year-old clan that's obsessed with something known as the righteous philosophy. They believe mankind should dominate the world, and anything that poses a threat to that should be exterminated. Naturally, the Brotherhood's greatest threat has always been the magical community. For hundreds of years, they hunted witches and fairies like animals, and they spread vicious lies and rumors to validate their hatred of us. The Righteous Brotherhood is the reason magic was outlawed in the first place. 6 centuries ago, they manipulated King Champion I and his high justices into criminalizing magic in the Southern Kingdom, and soon all the other kingdoms followed in their example. Champion I gave the Brotherhood permission to enforce the law, and the clan carried out the biggest massacre in world history. The Righteous Raid. as it was called, almost annihilated the magical community completely. The survivors went into hiding, and after that, the Brotherhood faded into the shadows. But I imagine the legalization of magic has, well, brought them out of retirement. Why did Mrs. V refer to them as the 333? Bristol asked. Well, because there's never more or less than 333 of them. The duties have been passed down from father to eldest son in 333 families in the Southern Kingdom. Traditionally, the clansmen swear allegiance to the Righteous Brotherhood on their father's deathbed. They devote their entire existence to this life and whatever may come after to upholding the righteous philosophy. The clan is so secretive that the clansmen never reveal their identities even to each other, making it impossible for us to find them or predict what they'll do next. How do they create weapons like these? Where did they find a stone that defies magic? No, it's called a bloodstone, and no one knows for sure, she said. Of course, over the years there have been plenty of theories about its origins. Some say the stone fell from the stars, others say it was forged in the center of the earth by demons, and some claim it was a gift from Death himself. Death himself? Bristol asked in disbelief. You don't really believe that, do you? Suddenly a noise echoed through the cavern. Bristol and Madame Weatherbury turned toward the entrance and heard footsteps coming down the tunnel. Someone must have followed you here, Madame Weatherbury said. I have to go. If anyone finds out I'm part of the Snow Queen, it could ruin everything that you've accomplished. Madame Weatherbury, wait, Bristol said. How do I stop the Righteous Brotherhood? Please, tell me what I'm supposed to do. Madame Weatherbury was the most optimistic person that Bristol had ever known. She was always equipped with a promising plan or an empowering metaphor. However, Madame Weatherbury had no words of encouragement to give her. For the first time, the fairy looked down at Bristol with nothing but hopelessness in her eyes. Just keep everyone safe as long as you can, she said. Madame Weatherbury disappeared from the cavern like a fading rainbow. Bristol didn't know what to think of her mentor's parting words. It was almost like Madame Weatherbury was admitting defeat, but there wasn't time to analyze it. The footsteps echoed louder and louder as the stranger traveled closer and closer. Bristol wrapped the arrowhead in the handkerchief and tucked it inside of her coat. She hid in the corner of the cavern and pointed her wand at the tunnel, ready to defend herself from whoever or whatever was approaching. Freeze! Bristol ordered. I'd say that's very likely, given the temperature. Lucy? Bristol was surprised to see Lucy had stumbled into the cavern. Her friend wore a thick coat of dark goose feathers, but was still shivering from the cold air. She was breathing so heavily that her warm breath looked like smoke venting from a chimney. Finally, I've been looking all over the northern mountains for you, Lucy said. Were you following me? Bristol asked. Lucy nodded. Call me crazy, but I was a little concerned when you snuck away in the middle of the night. I thought you were going to that Ravencrest joint to talk sense into Pip. I didn't want these witches to gang up on you, so I tagged along in case you needed backup. Had I known you were going to the North freaking Pole, I would have stayed home. Gosh, I know you appreciate your alone time, but couldn't you find a quiet spot closer to the academy? What's so special about this cave? Lucy walked around the cavern, giving it a thorough inspection. Bristol moved with Lucy and tried to block the frozen Snow Queen from view. Oh, nothing, absolutely nothing, Bristol said. You're right, I came all the way up here for some alone time. I really appreciate your concern, but as you can see, I am perfectly fine. Now, we should really get back to the academy before anyone else tries to find us. Bristol grabbed Lucy by the shoulders and directed her out of the cavern. As she pushed her into the tunnel, the red arrow slipped out of her coat and fell to the ground. Once again, the glowing arrowhead filled the cavern with a flickering crimson light. And what's that arrowhead doing here? Lucy asked. Oh, weird, look at that, Bristol said with a nervous laugh. I must have forgotten that it was in my coat. I should be more mindful when it comes to dangerous weapons. Lucy crossed her arms and gave Bristol a suspicious gaze. Bristol, what the heck is going on here? Nothing. Why do you make such a big deal out of everything? A big deal? I just found my best friend in a cave 1,000 miles away from civilization with a lethal weapon. That's a big deal. Lucy suddenly glanced over her shoulder. Wait, are you alone or is someone else in here? What? No, of course not. Then what is that over there? Lucy pointed toward the back of the cavern. Despite Bristol's efforts, she knew it was pointless to hide the Snow Queen from Lucy. Her specialty always compelled her to wherever the most trouble was lurking. There is nothing over there, Bristol said. You mean besides that creepy shadow in the back of the cavern? You're just seeing things. I think you're dehydrated from the journey. It's getting late anyway. We really should go home before... Bristol tried to stop her, but Lucy pushed her out of the way and headed for the back of the cavern. She wiped the condensation off the icy wall and then lunged backward when she saw the frightening face that was frozen inside of it. Holy icicle bicycle, she gasped. That's the Snow Queen, isn't it? Bristol panicked and didn't know what to do or how to explain it. Lucy looked back and forth between Bristol and the Snow Queen like a mystery was unraveling before her eyes. Oh, it all makes sense now, she said. This is why you haven't been acting like yourself lately. You discovered where the Snow Queen was hiding. You didn't want us to worry about it, so you kept it to yourself. And tonight you snuck out of the academy and you brought that red arrow here to finish her off. Huh? Bristol, this is fantastic. You just became a hero for sending the Snow Queen into seclusion. Imagine how the world's gonna react when they hear that you finally killed her. Lucy, I didn't come here to kill anyone. Why not? The Snow Queen murdered thousands of innocent people and she covered an entire planet in a blizzard. And she'll do it again if she gets the chance. Let's defrost this witch and stick the arrow through her heart while we still can. We can't. It's not that simple. Oh, I get it, Lucy said. You're worried about protecting your image. People won't think the fairy godmother's very kind and compassionate when they find out you killed the Snow Queen in cold blood. No pun intended. Yeah, Bristol said. You see right through me, don't you? Fine. You keep your hands clean. I'll kill her. Lucy grabbed the red arrow and charged toward the Snow Queen. No! Bristol yelled, don't do this. Lucy was too determined to listen, and she placed her hand against the wall of ice, and just like the Western Dam, it started to crack and crumble. Lucy, you have to stop, Bristol screamed. Don't worry, she won't feel a thing, Lucy said. I cannot let you kill her. I have no problem doing your dirty work. It's Madam Weatherberry. At first, Lucy had no idea what Bristol was talking about. She gazed up at the Snow Queen's hideous face, but then slowly and surely, Lucy started to recognize Madam Weatherberry's features under the witch's frostbitten skin. She removed her hand from the icy wall and backed away before the damage exposed the Snow Queen. No, Lucy gasped. This can't be real. She was in complete shock and dropped the red arrow on the ground. Bristol let out a long, heavy sigh and tried to comfort her. I didn't want to believe it either, but it is the truth. Is Madam Weatherberry still alive? Lucy asked. Part of her is, Bristol said, but she'll never really be the same. How long have you known this? Since the Tinsel Palace. Madam Weatherberry thought it was the only way that fairies could get acceptance in the world was to create a problem that only fairies could solve. So she turned herself into a villain so that we could be the heroes. Lucy turned to Bristol with wide, heartbroken eyes. So you've been lying to us the entire time? She asked. Bristol was taken aback by the remark. But no, I promised her that I wouldn't tell anyone, she said. Madam Weatherberry was afraid that you and the others would lose faith in the academy if you knew the truth. Yeah, but I'm not just anyone. I'm your best friend, Lucy declared. What else have you been lying to me about? Is your real name even Bristol Evergreen? Are you a natural brunette? Do you even like to read? I haven't lied to you about anything else. I swear. I don't know if I can believe you anymore, Lucy said. How could you do this to me, Bristol? You kicked me out of the Fairy Council for making a mistake, but meanwhile, you've been doing something way worse all along. Who's going to hold you responsible? Who's going to punish you for lying to everyone that you know? Lucy stormed out of the cavern and raced down the tunnel. Bristol tried to follow her, but Lucy was moving so fast she could barely keep up. Lucy, wait, where are you going? Yeah, I'm going as far away as possible. I thought I was doing the right thing. Please, can we talk about this? No, I am done talking to you. I don't ever want to see you or speak to you again. Lucy placed her hand on the wall of the tunnel, and the northern mountains started to rumble. The tunnel caved in between Lucy and Bristol, separating them by a wall of fallen rocks. Bristol cleared the debris with her wand and then sprinted down the rest of the tunnel, but by the time she was outside, Lucy had disappeared from sight. There you go again, losing friends left and right. You don't deserve their companionship. You don't deserve their love. You should be locked away, just like the Snow Queen. The distressing thoughts seemed louder than the howling wind outside. Bristol wrapped her coat tightly around her body and searched the northern mountains for Lucy, but she didn't find a trace of her anywhere. As far as she could tell, Lucy had vanished into the cold, snowy air. It's true, Naisa. This is why we can't have nice things. I am going to give myself a very tiny pat on the back. And my very tiny pat on the back is in the previous book. It didn't end up happening in the first book. But in the first book, I predicted that Lucy was going to know this secret. And that this is the secret that Mother Goose is taking to her grave on the fairy godmother's behalf. And I think it's true. Now we know she knows. So she is going to take that to her grave. And I'm going to guess... Yeah, I thought it was going to happen in the first book. It didn't happen in the first book, but it's happened now. So, because in the other series, I thought it was about the fairy godmother's son, but I don't think so. I think it's this. Yeah, I think it's this. Pretty interesting. Interesting. All right, I'm going to go and get stuff together for Roll for Slime. In case anyone doesn't know, tonight at 4:30 we have Roll for Slime After Dark. That is Patreon only, and it is age locked. It is 18 plus. The cheapest level of Patreon to be able to watch After Dark is $3 because that is how Patreon allows me to set it. But I do have to lock these things because they are 18 plus. It is not because I don't love you. It is because I love not getting banned from TikTok. Hey ho. What else is going on? Friday we have putty class. Pre-orders have already started going out. I only have about 20 of them left to do, including customs and Roll for Slimes for the month. It's true, Amanda, it's true. Everybody's stuff is going out. We're in good shape. We're right on track for the month of June. We might even be able to get July started early, who's to say? And that's the whole kit and caboodle. So I hope you have a great rest of your day until I see you all at 4:30. Get ready for some After Dark goodness. I'm hoping I will make it. Julia, if you don't make it, do you want me to make yours anyway because it will be recorded, or do you want me to skip you if you don't come? Going to the parks today. Oh, that's exciting, Rosie. Oh my gosh, are you going to Pixar Fest? If so, I'm jealous. I really want to go to Pixar Fest. Really, really bad. Really, really bad. That's amazing. I'm jealous. Take lots of pictures, send lots of pictures. Do it anyway. Okay, it'll be recorded, so you'll be able to watch it after. Okay, I will see you all tonight, and they found the guy who does the voice of Crush. What do you mean they found the guy who does the voice of Crush? Wait, what does that mean? At the park? Oh, he was just wandering around. You could make mine too if you have time. Rosie, did you send me what you want for it? If you did, I'll add you to the list. Okay, I saw him on TikTok too. Really? That's very interesting. All right, I will see you all tonight. I have a lot of prep to do. Before then, I have to take a lot of boxes to the post office this morning. It's a big, big pile of stuff that I packed up yesterday. So I'm gonna do that first, and then, oh my gosh, that's really funny, Roxy. All right, I will see you all later. Bye, guys. Maybe.